lot of my thoughts that are always stuck in my head are being vocalized for the first time, and there's no interruption. I highly recommend it for anybody. It's a lot like journaling, but you don't have to take the time to write in a notebook. Okay, I am headed to the meeting at the hospital, and I never spoke to anybody from the hospital yesterday to kind of get a gist of who all is coming or what I'm supposed to do when I get there, because they said they were gonna let me know. And I called this morning and left a message, and I haven't heard anything back. So I ended up calling the home where she lives, and apparently the hospital did contact them, and they are going to be at the meeting via telephone. So the meeting's still happening, which is good. And I was sort of waiting for the phone call so I'd know where I'm supposed to go, what I'm supposed to do, but I'm just gonna head there, and I'll try calling when I get there, I guess, or it'll be like last time when I went to visit, and it was very difficult to get through those doors because they're not allowing people in because of COVID and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I mentioned it in the last video, but the person at the door letting people in could not speak English very well at all and didn't have a translator, so that made it even more difficult. And I had to have some guy that just was clocking into work. Oh, hold on, this is calling. Okay, so that was the social worker and she said just do the same thing I did last time, so it'll be interesting. See if it goes a little smoother this time, which I somehow doubt. But you know what? I need to refocus. I need to get positive. I read my Course in Miracles this morning, and as always, it gives an exercise, and it was to forgive. Basically, the whole premise around A Course in Miracles is forgiveness, and to know that your mission in life is to be happy. And if I'm going to be happy, I need to think happy thoughts, and I need to expect a happy outcome. So I don't really have any expectation. I'm just going to be meeting with two of the treatment team members, I believe, who I've never met before. And I know that this meeting was only set up to appease me because I filed the grievance letter. So it'll be interesting. And of course her dad was unable to reschedule again, so he's not going to make the meeting, so I'm kind of on my own here. But I'm getting pretty used to being on my own in this capacity, and it's intimidating. I don't like confrontation. I don't like going to meetings. I don't like this stuff at all. I certainly don't like the topic, but I'm very motivated to get her the help she needs. So I've just got to keep on keeping on, right? And hoping, expecting the best outcome possible. And the best outcome possible is her getting transferred to the other hospital, and hopefully getting her medication switched around so she doesn't feel like she has to self-medicate anymore, and getting her to a baseline before she's released, and hopefully getting her some services in place upon release. That's how this system is supposed to work, and that's what my expectation is. I can understand the short-staffed. I understand all of the hindrances around it and all of the pitfalls in a broken system, but it doesn't mean I have to accept it, and it doesn't mean I can't fight to get her every service possible, because she can't fight for herself. She doesn't think she needs help. And I just think that's an important thing for us to remember. as the advocate, that they are not able to help themselves. I sometimes go back, I've said this before, and it almost feels like I'm dealing with somebody who was kidnapped, or like the ransom, or I know it sounds weird, but would you not fight and do everything you could? Would you not spend every penny you had or every ounce of energy you had to get your child back if they were kidnapped or taken hostage? Because it sort of feels like that. So that's my stance, and obviously I will hop back on after the meeting. I am about 15-20 minutes away, so I'm just going to try to get in a zen mood, and I will certainly update you after the meeting. Okay, so that meeting lasted just about 1 hour. And I feel pretty good. I feel like it was productive. It was me, the psychiatrist, the social worker, and then 2 people from the place where she resides. She was not part of the meeting. She's probably not in her best state of mind to be in the same room with me, because I'm still the enemy, according to her. So it would have been nice to see her, but I figured that was probably going to happen. I feel like I was able to tell them a little bit about her history, when this all began, the NVLD diagnosis, the not understanding consequences. I feel like I was able to paint a better picture of who she is in her right state of mind. We all agreed that marijuana is the problem, that psychosis would not happen without the excessive marijuana usage, which was getting really bad. When she would leave the house, she'd go at night and she would get these drinks or whatever, and she was taking way more than she should. And so we all agree that the only way she's going to get help is if we keep her from marijuana, and that's very difficult to do. So we would need some sort of treatment plan that tells her, hey, you cannot have this. And the house said if they had something in order that said she couldn't do it, they could be more apt to keep her reeled in, so to speak. So the discussion, the guy that runs the place where she lives, the director, said that he had worked with a patient before that had some issues with drug use, and that he had something called a progressive treatment plan, a PTP, and that was really the only thing that saved him. And so we asked this psychiatrist about, can we go to court and get a progressive treatment plan? And unfortunately, the only place to get that type of plan is the state hospital. The hospital I've been trying to keep her out of. That's the only place. So I asked a few questions about the hospital. They said that it's newer, it's got a much better reputation than it used to have. And I said, but isn't it long term? I just don't want to see her getting so institutionalized that she's long term in there. And they said no, maybe a month or 2, which is less than the other hospitalizations. So I'm starting to think that maybe the state hospital is the route we want to go, because it might be our only saving grace, because that's the only place where they can give her this progressive treatment plan and maybe give her the services she needs to be successful. So I'm sort of gearing towards that, which it's funny because I've been fighting it for so long, but maybe that's what needs to happen. I need to think about it, talk to her dad about it, but I do believe that might be the route we're going to have to go. She has court on Tuesday. They want me to come to court where she will be. That ought to be interesting. And if she associates me with her being sent to this state hospital, that's not going to fly. But I have to look at it as sometimes we have to do the tough love thing. And I hate throwing her into... I hate doing it because I know this is going to be traumatic for her. But what's going to be more traumatic is if she continues the marijuana use, continues to go through psychosis, and gets in a very unsafe predicament. And the people at the house were very concerned about her behaviors after smoking, after doing edibles. I've got a visitor badge. They were very concerned, said she's very vulnerable to outsiders and that she could be very easily taken advantage of, and she just is not safe. And I need to take that in consideration, and sometimes we need to do what's tough, right, to keep our loved ones healthy. And I'm thinking that might be the route to go. So I'm thinking this, now that the providers kind of get a better picture of her, I think they're going to be paying more attention. They talked about, the other thing they talked about was the medication, because I had complained that she'd just say she didn't want to be medicated. They would not enforce medication. So she's staying in psychosis longer and longer, which is not healthy at all. And I said, as medical guardian, can you not treat her? You can't treat her against her will, I said. And they said, no, I could enforce her medication. And I was like, well, yeah, then let's do it. I said, let's discuss what medication we're enforcing. But if that's what we've got to do to get her out of psychosis, then do what we need to do. We need to do what is in her best interest. Do I think harsh medications are in her best interest? Absolutely not. But the longer she's in this psychotic state, her brain is not functioning properly. And that is not healthy either. So it's another one of those, what's the least of the evils here? No medication would be ideal, but that doesn't look like it's gonna happen. So let's get her back to as close to baseline as we can get her the help she needs, and hope that this works. We've got to do something different. We've been doing the same thing over and over. What's the definition of insanity? The same thing over and over, and there's been no improvement. So we need to take another step. And that's where I'm at, and I feel good. I feel like we're all sort of on the same page, and I feel like I was heard, and I hope that she is seen and heard. And I hope I was able to give them a better recognition that this is not this, I don't want to say crazy because it's, sure, it's not politically correct, but the person they are seeing right now, that is not her. And if they could see the girl I know she is, I feel like they'd be more apt to want to help her and bring her back to that point. But I don't think they've really ever seen her as who she truly is. So that's where we're at. I'll take next week or next Tuesday at least the morning off to go to court. And I'm not even going to bother going back to work today because the whole thing is just mentally draining. So that's that. I hope this helps somebody, and we'll just take it from here. I feel good. It went as well as it could, I think. So thank you, God. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, universe, whatever it is. Let's keep it coming. Wanted to hop on real quick because I just got off the phone with her dad and her stepmom. So he had me on speaker talking to both of them about how the meeting went today and the referral to the state hospital. And at first I was met with quite a bit of resistance, which I totally understand because that's how I felt at first. But I did explain that I'm able to get a progressive treatment plan in place. She would have to go to that hospital, and they can actually mandate services. And if she doesn't get the help that she needs once she's released, I don't know if that means she goes to jail or if she goes back to the hospital. I'm not quite sure how that works, and I'll need to figure that out. And I hate playing hardball like this, but I think it's time that we have to do something different. She has spent, the past few years has been spent more in hospitals than out, and I think we need to bring out the big guns and get her the help she needs. Once they can bring her to that base level of understanding that marijuana is triggering this behavior that is extremely harmful and dangerous, then hopefully she'll come to it on her own. It's funny because her dad had found a journal she wrote, and she wrote like 10 things that she wanted in her life, and one of them was to stay sober. So like he said, our little girl's in there, and our little girl does not want to be like this disorder, this whatever you want to call it, disability, disease, this horrible illness has taken over, and we need to get our daughter back. And to do that, we need to get her to a level of understanding that this isn't good for her. But when she keeps getting released and she's not at that place yet of understanding, then the pattern just continues. And this is the only way I know at this point to break the pattern. So that's what we need to do. And as much as I hate the thought of advocating to send somebody to a hospital where I know it's a lot of medication and there's a lot of cons to this, when you weigh out the pros and cons, I feel like it's our only hope. Because if she doesn't get this help, she's going to be on the streets. When they were telling me how dangerous her behaviors were the last time she was out and doing marijuana and out on the streets, life is a very dangerous place anyways, but she is in a place, in a town, unfortunately, where there's a lot of sex trafficking, there's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of, and I guess that's everywhere, but she always wants to live in a city, so there's always going to be that. And we need to work on training her mind and to teach her that there are other methods of getting better, and marijuana isn't cutting it, so we need to find other methods. I don't think it's all going to be medications. I think there's an array of things we can do. There's diet, there is exercise, there is meditation, just getting a job, just having a routine. These are all what we need to get to, but unfortunately we are not going to get to those until we get her to a point of understanding and complying. And I'm running out of options. So this was the last option, the last case scenario. We've fought to keep her out of this hospital for so long. That was part of the reason of getting guardianship to begin with. And now, wouldn't that be funny if this is the place that actually gets her the help she needs? So we'll see. I think this is a good thing for people to be able to walk through the process with me. So as I keep people updated, you can kind of get a sense of how this all works. Not that this is I can't compare my situation to anyone else's, and the facilities of course are going to be different depending on the state you're in. I mean, there are so many different things, nuances that can happen. So I understand that this is an independent situation, but I also think that it might be able to help pave the way for some people if they're wondering what they should do or feeling guilty about making a decision that doesn't feel necessarily like a great decision. Let's just see. Follow my story, and hopefully it leads to a happy ending. And that's really why I'm doing this. That's why I share this, is because I do believe it's going to be a happy ending. I do believe she's eventually going to be okay with me putting this out there, and I believe she will join me on this crusade to help people, because that's what life's all about. We're in this together, and we really need to support each other and help one another. And we can't help one another when we're staying silent. And as much as I feel badly about sharing someone else's story, because it's her story, but it is mine as well, and it's yours, it's your story, it's so many people's story. And when we stay silent about it, there's no change, right? The only way we can make strides is by putting it out there and to navigate together. So that's how I feel about it. And I really do. I just hope it helps somebody. Or if you don't deal with this type of thing, I hope it gives you a perspective of how it is for people that do. And maybe it will give you some empathy on how to treat other people you know that are going through it. To see there's a lot of bumps in this road, and it feels like it's one punch after the other. It feels like you're trying to get through this maze, and people are trying to pull you down and push you away, and you just got to keep plugging through it. And together, we've got this. Love will conquer the fear. That's what it's about. Love will conquer the fear, and we'll get through it.